And we're rolling. Thanks for joining Brain Smasher's messy metal party. I'm sick of doing these. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop it. Thanks for joining me for this, and him for this, and you for this. Thanks. We're going to talk about, this is Ron. He joined us in a video or two ago. Thanks for coming down.
Oh, you're welcome.
We're doing a different thing, of course, because we like different things on Brain Smasher's channel of disgusting metal smashing. We're doing albums that mean a lot to us, and 5 each. And what we're listening to is Comatose Vigil's. I'll have to get back to you on that. Comatose Vigil. It's really great. So I'll start off, I guess. Let's see. I don't really know where to begin.
Comatose Vigil.
Yeah.
I can't even get the silly thing out, but that's cool.
Whatever. I'll put the link in the description. And by the way,
there's no gleam of hope.
I'm sure none of these records are going to be anything new to you guys. I'll put links to all the albums down below. But yeah, this isn't going to be like anything that's groundbreaking that you haven't heard about. But I was hoping that maybe offering our opinions on these would be something original that you could connect to, and maybe make you reconsider something that you hadn't before. So I guess I'll go first, and with the album that I first really sunk my teeth into with black metal. I don't have this on LP. It's about time I got around to it, but this is Emperor's Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk. Nothing really fancy about this version, but this is one of the most complex records I've ever heard to this day still. It's insanely orchestral. It's super complex. It's just mind-bogglingly challenging to consume, and I think that's what I really liked about it. When I first got into black metal and stuff, I was into the aggression, the brutality, the anger and stuff, but this really showed that it was that it could be a lot more elaborate, a lot more eloquent, and a lot more skilled, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I'm a really huge fan of Emperor. This is probably my favorite album of theirs. I would say. So
you heard Into the Night Side Eclipse before that?
I had not heard In the Night Side Eclipse before this. This is the first one.
Weird. Yeah.
I heard.
I heard the other one first, and that was always my favorite. But
yeah, I think it does kind of tend
better produced.
Yeah, I've never really been able to get into In the Night Side Eclipse like I think most people can. I don't really know why it is.
It's kind of mushy sometimes, but
yeah,
there's still a lot of amazing stuff going on.
Something about the production kind of makes it like inapproachable, or like I can't quite get in there. But I recently just really got into Drawing Down the Moon for the first time, and so
it's amazing.
Yeah, like you've been into that probably for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And
nobody ever liked that fucker.
And I've had it for the longest time, but it was just the other day I was like, you know what? I've never really got like all the way in on this, and I finally did, and I fucking loved it. So it's great to think that there's great albums out there still that maybe someday I can really, really get down on, and will blow my mind still.
Get down on it.
So yeah, Anthems to the Welcome to Dusk is just mind-blowing. Every time I listen to it, I get fucking chills down my spine. I'm so happy that this album was recorded, and it's this, like, I guess the reason I chose this is because it showed me that this is a kind of music that I will always find challenging and rewarding at the same time.
Good.
So now your turn.
All right. I'm going to start with one that, this is something that, I don't know where I put this thing, but I got this when I was in high school, and I bought it not because... Oh, okay. This is Voivod Killing Technology. I bought it not because I had heard it before, of course, but because the artwork blew my mind. So, I remember buying it and taking it home and going, just being blown away by how horrible it was. I mean, I hated it. And I hated it for months. And eventually, it was one of those things where I'd spent my money on it, so I'm gonna like it. So I started listening to it, and eventually it became one of my all-time favorite albums. And I remember running into other kids in high school at the time going, well, what kind of metal do you like? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember one jock guy had this too, and he said, have you ever heard that Voivod shit? Pretty weird shit. It was literally like a cartoon character, and I tried to expound and hear. You couldn't elaborate on it. But I agreed at the time. It was really weird shit.
So do you think it was like people who wanted to find something more than Metallica that would get into that?
Yeah, I guess I got into it because the sci-fi aspect. I mean, it's a beautiful science fiction story, as they all are, and the artwork is incredible, and I mean, just the photos are incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing not to like. And then, of course, the guitar playing is what really got me into Voivod, was the complexity and the weirdness and the experimental chords, which I think, I don't know how many times I hear albums every day now, and I go, that's Piggy right there, you know? And those guys probably don't even know who Piggy is.
Right.
But I'm sure this stuff just doesn't grow on trees.
I'm a little, I gotta say, I'm a little bit kind of offended that, like, Voivod continues to try and be like Piggy's songs without it, you know, and try to sound kind of like him. I don't know, it's kind of a touchy subject, and I don't know what it's like to be in a band and have one person die and say, like, do we call it or what? But it just kind of, it weirds me out that they're, like, still playing like Piggy's style without him.
Well, the one album, they still had all his recordings and they reused it. So.
Yeah, and like I imagine, you know, like any musician that you're in a band with would say, no, if I die, fucking, carry on. No, don't fucking stop it from on my case, you know. But I always thought, like, Voivod's success had a lot to do with how they kind of teetered on the border of a couple of different genres between punk, thrash, and traditional metal as they progressed, and really just kind of pulled all those styles into their own style and kind of created their own sort of sci-fi thrash.
Yeah, totally.
It's been championed by Vector quite a bit.
Oh yeah. It's
these
kind
days.
of hard to. I mean, look at that thing. It looks just like the Vector album. Right?
Yeah.
The first one, anyway. Okay, I'm done with Voivod.
So it's this is another album. I showed this off just the other day, didn't I?
Well,
I can't remember. Whatever.
Answer us.
Dissection's Storm of the Light Spain. I hope you've heard it. If not, stop this video, go listen to it in its entirety. Beautifully ornate, complex melody. The drumming is just fucking superb. The songwriting is just absolutely the soundest songwriting I can ever imagine.
very classical music.
Yeah, it just sounds so. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but this was also one of the first records that I ever got into metal in the beginning. So I consider myself really lucky that I got to. This was my gateway into metal. It's still one of my most listened to records.
I've never heard it on vinyl. Does it sound amazing?
I don't play it very often because I bought this in maybe 2000 or so. This is an original press, by the way, on Nuclear Blast, and I bought it sealed.
Holy shit.
And I left it sealed for a couple of years. Back
Baby
when I
blue.
wasn't.
Baby blue.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird blue. But I left it sealed for a couple of years thinking, man, this thing's worth a lot of money. But then I was like, I don't want any fucking money. I want to have this, one of my favorite records, if not my favorite album, on vinyl for me forever. So I don't listen to it very often, and I don't really play vinyl all that often. When I love a record so much, I buy it on vinyl just to have it as a collector, I suppose.
And that's okay.
But yeah, this album, just like the Emperor record, it just showed that this music can be so dynamic and complex and fulfilling in those ways. Yeah. It's just so ornate and strange and beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful records and beautiful music I've ever heard. And yeah, to this day, it's probably the album that I've listened to the most.
And it's almost as good as Somber Lane.
I go back and forth. I think
Somber Lane.
Somber Lane is fucking amazing. To me, it's like the differences between the two. The Somber Lane is a little less tightened together and perfected.
Yeah.
The Somber Lane kind of feels like they're really starting to explore that style. And Storm of the Light Spain just feels like they're just championing.
Yeah, you're right.
Championing
it's
it.
Perfect.
It's just perfect in every way to me. And after that album, Rain Chaos is what I wipe my butt with, basically. I don't understand what happened to that band. So to me, Storm of the Light Spain is where it ends. So I won't poo-poo that anymore, I suppose.
Prison ruins black metal. That's all there is to it. Look at Prison.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do something weird. This is one of those albums.
Oh, dude, weird!
I've It's not really like out of my character or anything, but this is Avenger, and it's Prayers of Steel, because that's what you need. You need whatever. But anyway, I of course I bought this when I was a teenager too because of the artwork, and I've looked up reviews on this because I still listen to this all the time. I looked up reviews and people just think it's the most average thing ever, and it's just like it's one of those things that's been with me my whole life, and every song is just catchy as hell. It's a really fun album. I say fun, I don't know. When I first heard it, it was super evil, but also really catchy. These guys end up turning into Rage. Maybe everybody already knows that.
Yeah, Rage just played Prog Power in Atlanta.
Oh, okay. So see, I keep trying to get into Rage, and I can't get into them as much as Avenger.
Yeah,
and
Reflection of the Shadow
like
is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I can still hear Avenger in that band, but I think this is perfect. It's so perfect. It's total new wave of British heavy metal, but with Satan.
You've talked about that album so much, and I don't know if I've ever actually listened to it. I feel like a prick for not having done so.
Oh, really? Okay. And one of the other great things about this is back when they still, threw all the little photos of the guys in them and everything, where they're wearing rollers in their hair and they're kissing their girlfriends. I mean, this shit is hilarious, and it's full of so many bad spellings and bad translations from German. Oh, it's fucking great, man. It's pure awesome. I've looked up other bands on this label, Wishbone Records.
What are some of the best songs on here? Faster Than Hell?
Oh my god, I can't think of them.
Assorted by Satan.
Assorted by Satan. Oh my god, it's so fucking good. Sword Made of Steel. Okay. Rise of the Creature is really cool because there's like a big, and he conjures the creature, and it's
so. Would you say it's like proto power metal, like early clean vocal kind of stuff, or is it more nasty?
He sings like he does in Rage,
okay,
but it's really catchy. Dude, check it out. It's a really really cool album.
I find Rage pretty catchy, so I can imagine.
Yeah. This is a lot less complex, which is why some people say it's boring.
Huh.
But anyway, Avenger, it's on YouTube. Just fucking listen to it.
Everything's on YouTube.
Yeah, no shit.
With mine, I guess I was thinking of, as we were starting to do this, we hang out and listen to new metal and and consume like the same newer albums in the same vein, I think, as peers. But when it comes to the albums that we find formulaic for us, you're definitely of a different generation than I am, but I think it kind of shows a parallel in that, like, these are the classic albums of my generation and those are yours, and we both respect them the same. I just thought that was kind of an interesting parallel.
I have those, they're just on CD.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel like a fogey to some of you guys who are into like the deathcore and shit that I don't really listen to, and I imagine there's a lot of stuff that like I listen to that you don't really get into, like this next one here. But not this one.
I love that.
This one you can't go wrong with. This is Immortal's Battles in the North. This came out in '95, also along the same years as Emperor's Anthems of the Welcome to Dusk and Dissection's Storm of the Light's Bane. And this is probably, I've pretty much always proclaimed this as my favorite record. It's just unbridled fucking fury. It feels like they wrote the album to be at a certain specific speed, and then played and recorded the album maybe just even faster and more intensely than they ever even intend to. It feels like it's just about ready to fall off the rails. And I love that about it. It's just like they couldn't possibly cram any more majesty and aggression and fucking grimness in this album than they intended to. But the riffing, I find Demonaz's riffing to be really, really strange. If you really boil it down and listen to it, his guitar work is really unique, and I don't think I've ever really heard anyone else who writes riffs like that. Obviously, Abath took over the band after Blizzard Beasts and sort of went on with the same style, but I think his riffing is a lot more like, Man-O-War influenced or Kiss influenced, and I just really can't get into the later era Immortal stuff. And Demonaz, I just find his riffing is just so fucking strange. It's kind of like a hyperspeed Morbid Angel in a way.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a rare version. I think this is limited to 1,500 copies, and it came out in '95 on Osmos. I paid $180 for this on eBay because I'm an idiot. But it's my favorite fucking record.
Yeah, it was worth it.
I don't regret it. It was one of those things where, like, you think you're just gonna pay $100 for something, and then at the last minute you're in a bid war with some prick, and you wind up paying twice as much as you ever planned on it. But I'm never gonna get rid of it. So.
And how did that emotionally change your life?
Emotionally, I don't really. I'd say I can speak to that. I don't know if grimness is anything that is really inherent in my life.
No, that's true.
Grimness is more of a metaphor for the way we feel about.
Well, why is it your favorite record of all time, though? It just satisfies
It's
all
the most
urges.
extreme. It's the fucking strangest black metal record I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's true.
For me, there's just something, like I said, about how, like, they intended to write the songs at a certain speed, but they played it with much more aggression and passion and fervor than they ever intended to, and just having it sound like it's just about ready to just blow up in your face.
Yeah.
It just sounds so fucking close to the end. I just love that about it. It just sounds so, like, I don't know. It's like
Edgy, man.
there was a planned amount of aggression, and then they just doubled it or something.
Yeah.
It's hard to put into words why I love it so much, and I think in some cases when you put so much work into defining something, or defining what you love about something, then it kind of loses some definition for you.
Yeah. That's true. It's a good point.
Kind of profound.
You know, we're trying to get deep here. Deep in the shit. All right,
What else you got?
Okay, since we're still in the affecting us in a very heavy way, this probably affected me, at least as a guitar player, and wanting to write music when I was a teenager more than anything. This is Darkness Descends, of course. It's got Gene Hoglan in it, who plays in a whole bunch of shit now, which ironically I never get into any of his new shit, but
I couldn't tell you anything he's played on in the last few years. He played on a Fear Factory album a couple of years ago.
I mean, I always loved his drumming, but I mean, that's not the only reason I like this album. I guess for me, just the pure rippingness. When I was a teenager, when I first got this, I had never heard anything so violent and just so satisfying and fast and impossible that, I mean, it completely changed the way I played guitar, the way I played guitar, and the way, I don't know how many, every drummer I knew I would bring over and I would play them this record and they would just be floored.
How do you do that?
They would literally, they'd turn into this just gelatinous goo and they'd be just...
How in the fuck is he doing that?
Yeah, and, well, it's not just that. I think the vocalist on this album, too, is still my favorite. I mean, obviously... Nobody's favorite is Ron Reinhardt. But this guy, fucking, I mean, it was a screaming madman, and he did it so well. I really wish I knew what happened to the little bastard. So,
that's a good question. I don't know.
I think I've tried to look up, and I haven't been able to find any modern, he hasn't been anything else. Named Don Doty. I know some of the other guys have gone on to other things. I've never liked any of them. But this album is just so fast.
Everything really came together on this record.
Yeah, I still think it's the best Dark Angel album. I mean, I know a lot of people, I liked the ones that followed, but they sound a lot more forced than this one. They sounded like they were, man, we're going to make the most complicated thing ever. This one is just, oh God, it's just so satisfying. So
every
powerful.
Dark Angel album tends to have like the best guitar tone at the time.
Yeah.
Fucking Time Does Not Heal, the guitar tone on that is amazing.
But this one has death is certain, parentheses, life is not. Perish in flames. Man, it just sums it all up. Okay.
So that was like a hallmark for Extremity when you first heard it that time. It was like...
Yeah. Everything about it was perfect. I mean, for me, I'd never heard anything quite so ripping. And it made me want to play faster. It made me want to cram more notes in than ever before. I never managed to do that, but...
I think probably one of the biggest motivating factors in my fandom, and I'm sure you could say this for you too, is when you just... You crack into a new album, you don't know what to expect, and you just hear evidence that the boundaries were just pushed so much fucking further than you ever knew that they could be.
Barrier.
And it feels like when you get a new record, you're there to see it happen and just have your fucking mind blown with everybody else who's hearing it at the same time.
Does that happen anymore? I don't know. Probably not as often.
Every once in a while, and in really lesser capacities or lesser
Yeah.
extremities than that. But yeah, every once in a while something comes along that just gives me the tickles. And I still get a kick out of that enough, and usually if something makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, I'm on the internet
and we're
buying
kind
the
of
fucking
both
thing.
still from that era when stuff didn't come out so fast, so we had time to like dwell on things. Where I kind of feel bad for kids now because too much good stuff comes out too fast, and you don't have time for stuff to sink in really. I think if you were to step away from the internet for a while, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do too.
And that's something I've been trying to do is like download a lot less and buy blindly a lot more, just to have to show faith in an artist that I already should be doing so with.
That's a good,
And just say,
supportive of you.
I love your last stuff. I'm gonna buy your new one, and just have it all there in front of you while you consume it.
Yeah.
Marty said something in one of his videos in response to mine about downloading MP3s, and that when you first hear something, it's just so great to have it all there. Have everything accompanying it. You can look at it. There's so much to be said for the album cover and the album pictures and stuff that go along with it. They put that there for a fucking reason, so that you can really get a general aesthetic for the music and the style that they're trying to portray. Rather than just just scrolling on Facebook and hearing some record for the first time. It really takes away from the experience. For instance, Darkthrone's Under a Funeral Moon. This album is so good. But just think about how much that image just says so much about what is contained therein.
Iconic.
If you had never heard black metal and you said, "What does this sound like to you?" you would probably describe something that sounds a lot like this fucking album. Well, I found a Metal Zone pedal in the bottom of a pond, and and a guitar I made out of driftwood, and I just started playing these really simplistic punk riffs, and I screamed like a banshee over it, or like a troll. I put some charcoal on my face, and I came up with this Darkthrone record. I don't know, but yeah, this is just an iconic fucking record. I've been thinking about a lot lately about how I never really got into A Blaze in the Northern Sky. There's something about...
That was my first.
Yeah, and that was your first. My first, I don't really know. I may have heard A Blaze in the Northern Sky first. I was actually kind of a latecomer to Darkthrone. When I was getting into black metal, I was more into the stuff that had just come out. Like, this was 95, 94, and 96, I want to say. So, like, Darkthrone had been around for a while, and I was like, yeah, I'll get to them. So it was a while before I had actually heard this. And the first time I had heard this, I drove... My mom and I were vacationing in Pennsylvania, camping in the mountains, and I was like, hey, Mom, you mind if I borrow the car and drive to Red Stream Records and spend $150 on CDs? So I did that. I drove to Red Stream Records.
Oh, that's fun.
I was actually friends with the guy. He didn't have a store or anything, but Pat from Red Stream invited me to his house to blow all my money on CDs. And the thing was, I drove like an hour and a half to get there, but I forgot to not spend so much money that I couldn't buy gas to get back.
Sounds like you.
So I wound up, I picked up some of, to this day, what are my favorite black metal records. I bought Obtain Enslavement's Witchcraft. I bought In Battle's first record, and I bought this. I was just kind of, filling up on some things that I thought I needed. And so I bought the CD, obviously, of this album, and I'm driving through the mountains of Pennsylvania, just getting totally engrossed in this album for the first time.
Yeah.
Just the fuzzy guitar tone of it, the way it's just so simplistic and atonal, like the riffs are almost like krautrock riffs. It's just so unmelodic and so just inhuman. And yeah, so I listened to the album from fucking front to back, and my mind was just really in a trance, just going up and down these hills, driving in this little car. And the album ended, and I looked down, and I'm on E, and I'm lost in the fucking mountains of Pennsylvania. And I'm like, that was a good fucking record, dude. And so I didn't actually run out of gas. I had enough gas to get just to the campground where we were staying at, and luckily nothing happened. But I just remember how engrossing this album was at the time that I didn't even think about,
it's good driving music.
myself.
I agree.
I didn't think about safety. I didn't even think about anything that was going on. I was just entranced by the guitar work and the vocals, the lyrics, just the utter fucking inhuman grimness contained on this album.
Yes.
And to this day, it still holds that same power for me.
Yeah, a lot of people try to duplicate it, but they just can't. I mean, most people can't.
You know, I always thought that a lot of bands kind of did find the formula of Darkthrone and were able to do stuff that was just kind of like, you know, second-rate Darkthrone. Like early Armageddon stuff, I think sounds quite a bit like Darkthrone and is really good. But going back and listening to all the albums with commentary on them has really given me a hugely new appreciation for Darkthrone. And also their new album is really fucking good. You should check that out.
I listened to the one song and I really dug it.
Yeah.
I think they still have magic. Darkthrone still managed to capture some magic on their recordings.
Yeah, and I think kind of what it boils down to, I think, and what I'm seeing in my kind of regurgitating of Darkthrone's music is that you can't overthink it.
Yeah, just true.
They're completely barbaric riffs.
Yeah.
And no one seems to have the balls to really just boil it down to just utter grimness. But they're Darkthrone, you know. You can't take away what they are from them.
What they did for the world, man. All right, how many got left here? Do I still have time? All right.
You got 2 and I got 1 more.
All right, I'll go quick on this one. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but okay. I first heard of Killer Dwarfs. Guess where I first heard of Killer Dwarfs?
At the skate rink in Omaha, Nebraska.
A movie. A movie.
Attack of the Killer Dwarfs.
The Gate. You remember The Gate? Okay,
yeah.
The Gate, where the kid summons. Okay, Sacrifix, the band. Okay, so anyway, the kid had a back patch on his jacket.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Killer Dwarfs. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, I've got to check out the Killer Dwarfs.
This is the movie he's talking about. The Gate.
Oh god, it's such a great movie.
You gotta watch this movie.
Yeah, it's a fucking really, really cool 80s horror movie. But anyway, they don't even play any Killer Dwarfs in the movie.
No.
But the name blew my mind, so I went out and I found this, and I've over the years, this totally is not something I normally listen to. I don't listen to a whole lot of. It's not cheesy.
I do know that when you go on a Killer Dwarfs binge, you go on a Killer Dwarfs binge.
Oh my god! Well, I got them all. There's only like 5 of them. There's only like 5 albums.
But you just listen to them constantly for like a week straight, don't you?
It's so good, man. If you guys got time, look up they had some really cool music videos made. Have you ever seen the music videos? They're funny as hell.
Mm-hmm.
There's one where they make their own record out of old melted
I don't know that
shit.
one. What's that one called? I'll put it up on the description.
It's either Stand Tall or
We'll figure it out.
Keep the Spirit Alive. There was 2 music videos they got off of this album, and it's funny as fuck. They make their own albums. They press them with irons, and they fucking they drill the holes in them. It's fucking funny. But it's not really funny music. I mean, it's really I don't know. The thing that works for me is it's not cheesy at all. It has the potential of being cheesy because it's kind of in the style of it's sort of a hair metal.
Yeah.
But it's not really. I mean, it's kind of in between. The songs are
Maybe
all
more
pretty
like tongue in
serious.
cheek than cheesy.
None of the songs are really trying to be funny. I mean, the videos were funny, and they kind of have a gimmick. They were all kind of short guys, so that's why they called themselves the Killer Dwarfs.
Against the Tower.
Yeah, I finally got their first album just recently, and it's hilarious. It's completely black, and it shows their heads right down here. Pretty fucking funny, but the album, I didn't think it was as good as this one. If you're looking for one, check this one out. It's so fucking cool.
And it's called what?
This is Stand Tall, yeah.
Stand Tall.
And it's pretty much true metal. I guess you'd call it true metal nowadays because it's not a lot of galloping or anything, or horses and knights and shit. It's pretty much just, yeah, man, be true to yourself.
I always thought kind of a little punky, little hair.
Yeah, definitely. And the singer is amazing. The guitar player is really, really great. I mean, the songs are all catchy on every album. Totally underrated from Canada, apparently.
As you can tell, we're both like fiends for catchy metal songs. It's something.
I have no problem with it.
I feel like we've really gotten away from the era of songs in metal being really catchy and memorable.
Catchy.
Like
just memorable would be nice.
Yeah, like when's the last time? Honestly, think about it. When's the last time you put on an album and you were like singing along to all the riffs?
The first time you heard it.
No. But like
it happens sometimes if it's done right.
Sure, yeah. But an album that sticks with you after a couple of listens so well that you're just like you just know it. It just sticks to you. I tend to ask that of a lot of albums these days, whether it be memorable, like note for note memorable, or just so memorable that you know exactly the mood that portrays.
Or even just a certain parts. When you get to a certain part, you're just like, yeah, you fucking hear that coming. And you know it's awesome. That's still really rare nowadays.
Yeah.
I think. All right, I'm done.
So my last album is Guards 666 International. This is an album that I was just a fan of the band before I heard this, and I was not expecting this at the time. They had been a kind of avant-garde black metal band with Corona Tokonga. Monumental Possession was a little more weird, maybe a little more on the thrash side. And then that Satanic Art EP was a little weird, but honestly it didn't sound all that much weirder, I guess, than like Dimmy Borgir or something at the time. So to hear this be such a step away from black metal was a big thing for these guys and a big thing for, I think, everybody else who at the time. It was kind of like, all right guys, we did a lot of groundbreaking in the 90s. I guess there's nothing really else I can show on this.
Even that artwork is pretty weird for when it came out.
Totally, yeah. I mean, they were really going for the throat with being, I fucking hate these bags, with being weirdos at the time. But I think for me, what's so good about it, aside from it being musically memorable, totally ingenuitive and original for its time, but I think it also kind of spoke to me as like, okay, I've had my head buried so far deep into black metal's asshole for about 6 or 7 years. It's time to maybe start thinking about where we're going from here.
Yeah.
And so
to a whole other level.
It wasn't like it was just alluding to something like that, where a lot of albums, they'll kind of like have a black metal record that maybe incorporates saxophone and kind of says like, let's maybe step over here. This album stepped so far ahead of what was going on at that time that I still don't think any bands sound anything like this.
Was it the same guys that did did they have a bunch of new members or what? I don't know a whole lot about it.
There's a couple of core members that were on this that were present in the beginning. This is the same singer as Kronet Sokunga. The drummer on this is Apollyon, who was on the Satanic Art EP. Or no, the drums were by Carl Michael on this. This has Apollyon, who joined them later on. It has Vikotnik, who was always on drums. But yeah, I think they just collectively were like, guys, let's try something really fucking weird. I can't imagine, this is limited to 500 copies, by the way, on Moonfog.
Wow. Holy crap.
I just can't possibly imagine or fathom how this album came together. Was it just like Vikotnik writing riffs on guitar going, yeah, I think I'll stick with it that way, or, I can't imagine how an album like this comes together. It's like Skinny Puppy meets KMFDM.
It's really intense.
Yeah. Meets Thorns, if you have to say something other than Guard. But yeah, totally groundbreaking and weird fucking record. If you're kind of bored and looking for something new, I highly recommend this album so much. But for me, like I said, it kind of like made me pull my head out of black metal's ass back when it came out in '99. It was like, yeah, there's other stuff out there.
Out of the castles. And
Yeah. And like, I'm still a diehard traditional black metal fan.
Let's say hi to brother for a minute, buddy.
Yeah, that's about all I have to say about that album. It's killer.
What you got next?
Okay. This is probably, I saved the best one for last. And I know a lot of people, this is Possessed, you can't read it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. And you can step directly into hell by opening it up.
Yeah!
So, I don't know, did they do this on the new version? I don't know.
I don't know.
This is the original version. This is the one that doesn't suck. But anyway, no.
I didn't know this was Ed Ripka until the other day.
Oh yeah, this is a pretty cool painting. But this album has this does have a lot of emotional attachment to me. I can remember coming home. This wasn't the first Possessed album I had bought. I actually had bought Eyes of Horror first because that came out when I got into them. And
so you heard Seven Churches after this?
Yeah, I heard Seven Churches. I heard Seven Churches last out of all of them. And Seven Churches is still my least favorite, amazingly not.
I'm the same way.
Say that.
I'm the same way, and I feel kind of weird. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of backlash for saying that, but
Seven Churches is great too. I think they're all brilliant. But this is the one I listen to the most. I can honestly say, I had this on tape in the day, and I bought this, and I had a boombox I put right behind my head on my bed, and I swear to God, I listened to it every night going to bed for a couple of years. I would literally put on Beyond the Gates.
I did
go
that
to
with
sleep to it.
Battles of the North too. I did that with this album every night for a couple years.
So it becomes a part of you after a while,
Yeah.
and it becomes soothing. And it's hard to imagine that this sounds soothing to me. and this pisses me off mostly because most people, when they talk about Beyond the Gates, oh, that sounds like shit. I don't even understand that.
Wasn't that recorded by Kirk Hammett or?
It was recorded by some guy from. Oh, the guy that was in the Rods. What was his name?
Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of something else. I want to say Kirk
tried the
Hammett.
Rods and I hate them.
Oh.
Some kind of trashy. Somebody's dad is getting pissed at me right now because I'm talking bad about the Rods. But anyway, Carl Kennedy. Okay, so he ruined this album
Thanks,
supposedly, and I don't think so. I mean, if you heard this now, I think it fits right in because it's got a lot of reverb on it, which is I think why people hated it.
Right.
But now everything's got a shitload of reverb on it. It's really echoey and reverby and dark and gross and.
It seems like with influential albums like this, first the music is stolen, copied, regurgitated, and then people start to like go back and think about the nuance of the albums and the reverb that's added to them, and then like little things like this that make the album a little bit more characteristic until they've bled an album dry.
Yeah.
Like Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel. I'm sure so many bands that have just fucking taken everything from that record and just re-portrayed it as their own.
Try to duplicate it, yeah.
Whereas Seven Churches, I think it was monumental for just pushing forward so much the boundaries, but it didn't really offer a lot of nuance or variety to it.
No, it was
just
really one-dimensional.
straightforward aggression.
And I think this one had the most dimension out of Possessed. I don't know. I mean, I still think Possessed was one of the most amazing bands ever. I mean, people still call them thrash. I don't really see that. I still think it's death metal. But
I hear a lot of both. I think most people would agree that it's like the very beginning of death metal, or like Death's Leprosy is the very beginning of death metal. But honestly, when a genre is started, it doesn't really sound like the first album that started it after a while.
Yeah.
It starts to sound like a whole other beast.
Yeah, but he was one of the first guys, besides, of course, Venom, to really growl.
Yeah.
I remember reading all the reviews about people hating the growling. Oh, man, they hated the growling. The growling was annoying. And now everybody hates the singer. So thanks, Jeff. That's what he's in a wheelchair now. That's what happens to you.
Yeah,
He was
still
shot.
playing shows apparently.
Yep.
So that's all we got. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what are your top 5 most meaningful albums to you in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for being you. All right.
Good job.
See you later.
Keep it up.
Thanks for joining us.
Sometimes